All right. Last things last though. Let's talk about It, boy. We reviewed the first It when it came out 2 years ago. And we really enjoyed the film, right? And this
Yeah,
is it's coming from people who grew up on the 1990 miniseries. I remember being scared at that, you know what I mean? Even though I didn't watch it then because this imagery was just frightening to me at a young age. Looking at it now, it is pretty dated. And I remember doing a Was It Seen episode where I gave it a 4. But over the past few months thinking about it, I think I was a little too fair on it because yeah, it is a flawed project, and but the flaws really do kind of the bad unfortunately kind of outweighs the good in this one. Like you see the merit, you see what they go in for, but it just didn't work. And
yeah.
yes, it is incredibly dated. But Tim Curry, I mean, he is the standout of the miniseries. He's the reason why you watch the show anyway. You know what I mean? I think that his character still holds up. But about the 2017, I mean, we enjoyed it. I love the fact that, yes, while it is a two-parter, well, this first one here in 2017, I love that they focus solely on the kids. They didn't do like any miniseries where where it started off as adults and then it transitioned into kids and that kind of stuff. They focus on kids. They were the losers, you know what I mean? They were the outcasts, you know what I mean? So you could kind of relate to them somehow and they're just being tormented by this demonic entity, and it's just about them just trying to do what they can to face their fears, basically, and stop it. So,
Right.
while it wasn't the best movie I saw 2017, it wasn't, and far from the best horror movie I saw for 2017, it was one of the more enjoyable horror films I've seen because I saw it with a packed house, well, packed theater. People were jumping at the right times, laughing at the right times, screaming at the right times, and it just made for this I would say just a crowd pleaser. That's the best way I can describe the first It. You know, it was just a crowd pleaser of a horror film, and I don't mind crowd pleasing horror films. I don't mind that. Not every show, not every horror film have to be psychological and leave you kind of scarred or make you think about stuff like say like Midsummer, for example. You know what I mean? You can have little horror films to excite the crowd, and I like that. So that's what the first chapter did in spades, in my opinion. So. Is there anything you want to weigh in on the first movie? That's what you thought about it back then.
Yeah, it was solid. No, I'm not a big horror fan per se, so it was like, well, but I enjoyed for what it was. I thought it was pretty good. It was like, yeah, cool. I'm not into the it crowd, it hype thing, so it's like, all right, cool. It is what it is. Yeah, I dug it for what it was. Children were great. Everybody into the old 80s kid stuff with the old Stranger Things vibe anyway. So it's like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah. And it's funny too because one of the performers, of course, is Finn Wolfhard, who of course is
yeah,
from Stranger Things. That he plays Mike, one of the main characters. So it's like
right,
funny, haha, right? It's the same thing, kind of, right? So,
right.
right. So what was cool about the first movie is at the very end, before you saw the credits, where we saw it, and then you saw chapter one. So it's like, oh well, we're gonna get chapter two. Now, I didn't really think much about chapter two. Like, I didn't think that we had to wait so much years to see it because it's 27 years after the events of the first movie. But I was actually surprised when the announcement came out, like, yeah, we're gonna get it in 2019, and it's the same director. Okay, cool. And we casting, adult actors to play the younger characters. Okay, so they get like Jessica Chastain in it. I was like, all right, she can
Yeah.
act, yeah, yeah. James McAvoy, Bill Hader, people like that. Bill Skarsgård, of course, is gonna return as Pennywise the dancing clown. So like, all right, but I was genuinely excited to see it. Not too excited for it, but given how enjoyable the first movie was and still is, because I actually rewatched the first one about a few days prior to watching it, chapter two. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, what could go wrong with this? I mean, you have the source material. The goal basically is to make a film that was better than the miniseries, which you all succeeded with the first half of it. So it's like, cool, just maintain it. You know what I mean? Have the stuff that we love about it. And yeah, you can't go wrong. I mean, easy win, right?
Right.
So
Wrong.
so so before we get into our honest thoughts on it chapter two, Ricardo, you just want to fill us in on what chapter two is about in a nutshell?
Right. So basically, 27 years past, 27, right?
Yeah,
Plot.
27, 27.
Right. So he comes back and he start apparently murdering people again, and then um, you know, Old Spice guy calls back all his friends.
Yeah, it is actually the old Spice guy, Isaiah
Yeah.
Mustafa. Yeah.
Right.
So he plays Mike, who was the sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. So he plays the sole black kid in the movie.
Yeah.
So right.
Yeah, he comes back, he called back all of them, he lied to them, telling them, oh, I just want to meet back. And then he kind of reveals, no, the reason I want to meet back is because we need to take out it again. It's back. And we didn't really kill him last time, so now we have to defeat him this time. And shenanigans ensues.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then you have to learn, they basically have to realize that they needed some kind of, like you learn this backstory about it kind of, well, it's really when it came, and it's connected to some ancient Navajo, well, not Navajo, but Native American. I forget the name of the tribe. They defeated
Yeah,
them.
I forgot. Right.
Right, they defeated them in the past, and now they had to do it again, and they had to get some totems of some sort to defeat them. So they had to go and do these flashbacky type events to get the things to put it in the totem holder, or whatever it was, and they could seal off it. And that's the plan.
Right.
And really work, but that's the plan. That's the story. And
Yeah.
everybody come back down for those reasons. But one guy died, well, apparently committed suicide, kind of, but for weird reasons, because that was unclear. That was particularly not clear in this movie. But apparently
Uh,
he had to kill himself just to help out them in the end. And that was learned in a letter. I
well,
can follow.
well. Just to talk about that briefly, right? The old movie, believe it or not, covered that way better, because it was
Right,
more like he just as he heard Pennywise or just found out that it involved it, he just could not get over it now. So this
right,
hit that, oh well, maybe it was a murder, but actually no, it was a suicide. The old movie captured presented that a lot clearer than this one here. It was just, oh, he dead, and then near the end it's like, well, this is why he do it. Like it was all on purpose. Like no, that's not what happened. Or I'd assume that would not be a reason for them, for him to do that, just for them to come together. Like that's dumb. You know what I mean? But yeah,
yeah, no, right. There's nothing really else to mention is that, well, shenanigans ensues.
yeah,
They they get to do the thing. It chase them down and scare them. Rinse, repeat. Um,
that,
yeah,
yeah. So jumping into the review, right? So that whole rinse repeat thing. So I just want to hear your thoughts about it because well we both saw it together. We went to see it in IMAX. They have a $40 show compared to the $65 show. So and there was like hardly anybody there. It was just like us and like three other people. It's like, hey,
you're
you know what I
right.
mean? And then it was my birthday too. So it's like, okay, cool.
Right.
Watch a horror film for the first time in IMAX. But the point is, afterwards, we talked about it. The stuff that took us out of the film, unfortunately. But
Yeah.
I just wanted to give the audience just a
For
rundown of
me,
your thoughts and opinion on the movie.
I thought this adapted. It did every mistake it could make with an adaptation, in my opinion.
All
It
right,
was loyal.
adaptation.
Right.
Yeah.
It was loyal in bad ways. It was not loyal in bad ways. And then they decided to add, like, put stuff in that didn't need to be there. And yeah, they don't straight up say it. They could have easily cut an hour out of this movie.
Yeah, I agree. This movie did not
Yeah,
have to be 2 hours and 49 minutes short. There was
yeah,
no need for that.
yeah,
No need. Like the first
yeah.
movie is like 2 hours and 50 minutes. You could have
Right.
kind of trim a couple, like a 5-10 minutes out of it. In retrospect, I have to agree.
Yeah,
But in this one way, it's like close to 3 hours. No, like there was no reason for
yeah.
that. And to me, how I
And
saw it is, well, bigger is better. And
right,
well, if Avengers Endgame could be 3 hours and 2 minutes, why can't our movie be close
right.
to that length?
But they
Um,
decided to just put like a set of horror things that don't need to be here. And it had a
yes,
couple moments, but it was just more like you're watching more action than horror, and a lot of it just didn't work or make sense. So they had this one part where it had one part that was just utterly baffling to me. That's the part that just kind of took the movie was going okay until it reached this part, and then it really fall off a cliff for me. That was where the vomiting, right?
yes. So
And
slight
play,
spoiler, but guys, there's a scene involving projectile vomit from a demonic character, of course, and a song though, a 80 song plays. Not we're not gonna see what the song is, but it just comes completely out of nowhere because there's no setup. The song just plays, and you see the vomit in slow mo, right? And it just plays for like about 5 seconds. Like you just hear a line from the chorus, and it stops.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was meant to be funny. I don't
I
know
didn't
if it
get
was
that
meant to reference something for the old film, but I did not see what the
point.
point of that was at
Yeah,
all.
nothing connected. So I like a couple things I kind of get what they was trying to go for. Like, okay, in the book, or the well, even the original animated, the original series. Sorry, the original movie. Uh, they did the whole classic referencing stuff that horrified you. So they made a bunch of horror movie references in that context because that's what horrified them. That made some sense. So
Yeah.
it had little references to The Shining and little references to The Thing and little stuff like that. That's it. That's the only part of the movie that worked for me. Everything else was bullshit, right? Pennywise himself, it had a couple moments with Pennywise. I was okay. Again, from a jump scare standpoint, some of it worked, because, but as a jump scare. But it was more silly. So they had this whole part with the Paul Bunyan thing. That was okay.
That was
But
okay. That was okay. That was okay.
but it's more shock, scare stuff. Like I get a feeling that they decide, look, we're not gonna make this smart. We're just gonna go to the lowbrow, shock horror stuff, jump scare stuff, and they didn't cater to a smarter crowd. It was just scares because it wasn't scary. Simple. Very little of this was. I don't think anything else was scary. It was more just funny and dumb. It wasn't scary at all for me, and a lot of it just didn't work. It fell flat again. Horrible pacing because of the 3 hour run. Um, I couldn't get into this at all. Like I was just annoyed mostly. I was like, and I listen. The movie was going good, and then when I reached the house, I was like, all right, well, at least we have 15 minutes ahead. I checked the time. We had an hour again. Like fuck.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was like,
It's just a really long third act in the
yeah,
same house that they more or less
yeah.
stopped Pennywise in the last film now.
Yeah. I then decided the mistake they make was, to me, going back to the kids. Like they because the kids were such a hit, they decided to like tap back into that. But it's like, no, just tell the story of the adults. Like they should stick to that.
Yeah,
Um,
like the original film did.
yeah. They should stick to the adults in my opinion. But it just didn't work at all. This was a mess for me. It just didn't gel together the way it should. It had a really weird edit. It's really one of those how do you fuck that up kind of movies to me.
Yeah, yeah, you're right.
It's
Because
yeah,
you have the source material, you have the
yeah.
success of the first movie, the formula of
Guys,
that, and you have the old film as a okay, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna do it way
I
better.
that's why I thought no, but you see
How you
this is
can
the
mess
thing.
it up? How you can mess
Here's
it
the
up?
thing. We live in the age, here's the thing. What's surprising about it is that we live in the age of the internet where everybody is morning quarterbacks, right?
Yes.
Everybody could do everything after the fact. But so when you really get a genuine opportunity to say what you could have done, I really thought they would have sat down and rewrite or reframe the ending in a better way,
Right.
right? And that would have like they could have do so many different endings on how to fix this and how to fix that. You have a whole cottage industry on the internet about that shit, and it is one of those things that you could have. The book was a big blocky book because it kind of make all these mistakes of the book. As I say, the book is kind of a mess too, right? What drove the writing process. It was Stephen King and his co-writer Cocaine, right? That's why that book was the way it was, in my opinion. But even if they did the world building from the book, it'd still be better than what they did. Because the world building of the book had all this stuff about the turtle and all this weird cosmic stuff, and we didn't really get that. We just get this weird backstory of the Indians and these Native Americans or whatever it is, and that's it. And it's like, wow, well, they didn't do nothing with this too. And that's why I keep saying they just kind of try to half it, and it instead of getting the best of both worlds, we get the worst of both worlds. With respect to how to do this adaptation.
Right.
And yeah, very little of this works. Almost none of it works actually. The final action sequences, I had fun, I suppose. With where again they do a thing with it where they try to square the ending with a new change, but the new change that it doesn't really help things all that much. Um, guys with well spoilers, clown spider, well more like clown
Yeah, yeah,
scorpion.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but this just didn't work. I get what they're trying to go for sometimes, but I feel I thought they could have really do some intelligent changes to the writing and the ending itself, but they just kind of fall victim to the typical ending of the original story. I really thought they say somebody could have sat down and say, all right, this is how I change the narrative, this is what I cut, this is what I do, this is what I take from the book, this is how I adapt this, that, to the other. And they just decide to stay loyal in all the wrong ways. And then decide to make changes in all the wrong ways. I won't go as far as saying this because it's not as much of a mess as that, but it's kind of Batman v Superman problems, right? It's, hey, look all these things that you like, but we don't get why you like them. And they put that in, right?
Right.
Hey, it's like, Batman in the big armor suit, because he had the armor suit in the comic, but it'll fit, right? Same thing with this. It's like, oh, we have this and that and the other, and we decide to put this. And I barely remember the law of it, so I didn't really like think about it, but I was like, they could have, I remember just vaguely, no, they could have do this different and do this more intelligently. And yeah, again, it's one of those, it's the name of that movie again. How do you fuck that up? They kind of fuck it up.
Yeah, a history of violence.
History of
Yeah.
violence, right? Yeah, yeah. How you just fucked that up? You had an easy chance to nail this. To me, in fact, this was kind of a slam dunk, frankly. And I really thought they could have guessed scriptwriter with the salt to make it work. And it's just a mess. And the editors are a mess. And they could have really, I'm really disappointed in this one. Um, I don't know. Again, because I'm not a horror person, I'm not a big Stephen King nerd to pick apart this and have it make sense. I don't know how to fix this personally, but I just a little simple watching it for what it was. They could have do all kind of things with it. However,
All right. Oh boy. This this is a tough film to talk about by because yeah, just like you, Ricardo, I was incredibly disappointed by this boy. And
yeah,
it's one of those shows that you kind of want to be fair about it. And I'll tell you why I want to be fair about it, right? So technically, yes, it's a well-made film, well shot, well lit. You kind of come to expect
yeah,
that, right?
it doesn't. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, some creative choices, camera angles, and just
yeah,
building tension. You know what you gain visually with the show, right? You know what you gain, right? Performance-wise, yes, the actors that it shows, they did the thing. What I mean, they were impressive for what they were given to do. What I mean, like Bill Hader. What I mean, a lot of people have been zeroing in on his performance. Yes, he is. He stand out. I agree because he basically playing he's playing Richie, who is the guy who's just crack all these like
yeah.
basically these foul mounted
Talking,
insults and all that kind of stuff, right? So
yeah, just
yeah,
talking,
it
just talking.
works. And you're right, just talking shit, right? And it fits his role, it fits his look basically, so it works, right? Cool. But let me just talk about length for a bit. Let me just talk about length for a bit and then relate to the characters. So yes, this movie clocks in at 2 hours and 49 minutes. There was no reason for this movie to be this long. But I figured that at least they would have some moments, but I mean, I'm not expecting them to take up a chunk of time, right? Where you would develop the character, the relationship between each character, there. You know what I mean? Because like the previous film, chapter one, didn't really do that much of it, but there's enough for you to understand. Okay, this is why they have to band together. They have time together. You know, they like each other. Blah blah blah. They have their own little quirks and stuff. But I was really curious to see how they would have touched on that later on. Like, really like the first act you saw when they are 27 years from now. That's fine. But I felt that when they were together, there was enough moments of them together. You get the Chinese restaurant scene, you get that there. It pretty much plays on the way how they did in the old film. And I guess this is the same way in the book. But I was just wishing for more moments of these characters interacting with each other. And not in the middle of some fearsome situation, but just where they are right now in their lives. I mean, and how as they being reminded, because this is some weird thing with the movie that they forgot nearly everything that happened. You know what I mean? Because he left Derry, the town of Derry, but as he came back, uh, things just keep coming back to them. Now. So I was like, okay, well, these things coming back. So like, let's just say the case of so the case of Ben, right? Who was the fat kid, and now he slimmed down. He actually looked way more handsome than he did, 27 years ago. Obviously, like I thought they would touch on, the stuff that he was going through with him being teased. Now that he remembered about, the bullies attacking him and carving well, I think it was hog or something. So they were going to carve into his on his stomach. There. I thought they
Yeah,
would go back to things like that. Like them kind of
right.
dealing with the fears as human as adults. Nope. It's just okay, Mike bring them in, and then he tell them, oh well, I'll really bring all they here because well, I decided to stay back because I just want to see if
Right.
it will show up, and so said so that he shows back up. There's even a part in the very beginning involving, I actually saw a review that it was based off the book involving a gay couple being brutally assaulted, and one of
Right.
them
Right.
girls
So
thrown off a bridge, and
that's relevant. That was relevant to the like. Okay, so it is kind of based on a real story. It's somewhat based on a true story. So there's a whole backstory. So that's where I got that relevant reference point from.
all
It's
right,
supposed to be based on the real story of this apparently some gay bashing that happened in the 80s.
okay. But
Right.
even though they do touch on a character, they're gonna say who may have had these kind of thoughts in his mind, who may or may not be gay, whatever it is, which they don't really explore. They just hint at it. I thought they would
Yeah.
have come back to the couple itself, or at least what happened. No,
Right.
no
Nothing.
mention of it. At a point in time, I thought, okay, there's a scene where a character is washed
Oh,
up from the sewer. I thought it
right.
was that character. Like, no, actually, it was
No,
a
that,
character, one of the bullies from the old film, from
right.
chapter one. And then it
Right.
was even worse now when you realize this is a
Yeah.
flashback. This actually
Right.
did not happen. You know me. I thought, oh well, because he died as a teen, he just came back as a teen, and like it just, bring
Right.
him back to
I
life.
thought
To
so
so
too.
it's like, no, this is actually a flashback, just to show
No,
him in an asylum, and this is
and
why
then
he
top of that,
escaped to go back for them. I'm like, what?
yeah, and then his whole side plot was total nonsense.
It
Hated it.
was basically he just well, he escaped the asylum, and one of his partners is a rotten corpse, and you don't ever see that
Point.
corpse
Yeah.
anymore. It was just there to
Yeah.
shock people. Ah, you know what I mean? A corpse driving him. Ah, but basically he's just, what I mean, just psycho bully, former patient at an asylum, basically with a knife, with a switchblade, basically hunting down these characters. And how he runs into these characters, I mean, you can make the argument it's it that's possessing him. That's why he knows
Correct.
where the characters are. But still, it's like, why though? Why go through all this trouble? If the idea with the last film is that, oh, these kids were able to stop you, then why you had to go out your way to get this bully to get back at them for? And that's another thing that really took me away from the show. But the point I was going to make at with Mike now is that you just bring them here together to do this thing, and then you bring up this really convoluted subplot involving these Native Americans, and this is the origin of it, and where he came from, and blah 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 blah. And now we have to get these things. Okay, cool, but now these
Right.
characters are separated now, and they go through their own individual things. But it's only really that they do meet back up to kind of talk about stuff. And usually when they do talk about stuff, it's just, oh, well, I saw him there, and I saw this there. There's no real kind of personal kind of, relationship stuff going on there. It's just, we back in this again, and we have to deal with this. That's it. You know what I mean? So really, there wasn't any point to kind of introduce the characters themselves in the very beginning, because the show itself kind of just treats them as just one dimensional anyway. So like, why should we care about what happened before? Like, why should I care about Jessica Chastain's character? You know what I mean? And the abusive husband she had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though they touch on the kind of pervy relationship that her dad had with her back when she was younger. And speaking of that, in a bit, a
Right.
lot of like narrative inconsistencies, Shen, like because they really go to the way to go back to really to reference the old film, right? To the point that we get the actors themselves coming back, right? And it's only after the fact. You actually noticed it to me. You was asking me why the characters were sounded so weird. And it's only after the
Right.
fact I
Yeah. Yeah.
realized that do some de-aging to
Right.
to a majority of the kid actors, because like Finn
Right.
Wolfhard, for example, you might get
Right.
old. You
Some
get
sort.
older after 2 years there. So they
Right.
do some
Right.
stuff to him to make him look younger, right?
Yeah. It was
And
some
like for that
strange.
one character, they kind of just do add a filter to his voice so he
Right.
sounds younger than he actually is. I didn't pick
Right.
up on it until like after the fact, though, but I was like, "But all that drama though, why have the kids to begin with? But
Like,
here's the
yeah. So
argument.
they're cut out. Yeah.
Yeah, but here's the argument. Well, the kids were the standouts in the show, and everybody loves the kids. Fine, okay. We like them as kids, but it's really the characters. We were expecting to see them as adults. We were expecting the movie to be brave enough to just show these characters as adults and not have to constantly go back to the main kids. So the second act is just basically back and forth, back and forth. These characters remembering stuff. So, and it's just to the point that, oh, well, character goes in place that he was in the first film for no reason, because this kind of threw the whole artifact thing out the window. It was to a point that I forgot that they were looking for artifacts. It just felt like characters just going to places because. So so like James McAvoy's character, for example, Bill, he just goes back to his old home because, well, he has to because we have to bring back Georgie, right? And we get the same thing with Georgie and him with the raincoat and him uh, being sucked into the
Right.
into the drain again. You know what I mean? There's even moments where shots are recreated, like the confrontation with Bill. One of the confrontations with Bill and the demonic version of Georgie. We get that again. You know what I mean? And it's just this back and forth stuff. Like there's a moment where one of the characters, the one who's the germaphobe, goes back into the same pharmacy that he was in the last film,
Yeah.
just to have
Yeah.
some moment of some creature following him. And that's the thing. It's just character go into place they confronted by some like the fear basically, and it's just rinse repeat, just over and over and over. And imagine a whole second act of just scene after scene after scene of this shit. No moment of rest, no moment of character interaction. It's just character go here, they scared, next. Character go here, get scared, next. And it's just rinse, repeat. And I'm like, why, dude? This is boring. And it's like I say, it's just not scary. Some people find that Bill Skarsgård, who by the way is great, right? They felt that there was more screen time dedicated to him. I didn't really find so. I find that he, like, in terms of the story itself, was barely there. You know what I mean? And just go back to what I said before about, him incorporating the bully into his revenge scheme basically. It's like, dog, you had 27 years to rest and recuperate. Why you couldn't just go back at them? Why you had to
Right.
go back to the bully and all that kind of stuff? And oh well, the excuse, well, remember the bully for the first film? Let's just bring him back. It's like, no, the bully came and went. We don't need to see him again. Hell, we don't
Yeah.
even need to see the kids again. As much as I like the actors, but I don't need to see them again. There's a couple of flashbacks that kind of work, but still is like adding things that we didn't know about. Like case in point, the one that one of which that took me out of it, right, was with Jessica Chastain's character, right? Well, if you remember, her dad was this kind of pervert that we're looking at her because she was going through puberty, right?
Yeah.
And now you're telling her that his wife died, and he blames the daughter for it, and now and because of that he have this resentment towards the daughter, but now he want to hold on to the daughter, keep she close, and that's why he have this pervy thing towards her. It makes no
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he
Right. So
literally stops
again,
to.
this is what I keep telling you. This is what I keep telling you. The book just covers some of these things well, and the show don't cover that as well. That's why I say is the worst adaptation possible because things that the book address, this skip, and then things that the book do poorly, it include.
Yeah,
You see what?
yeah, and it's like, why do like you'll give you all this stuff this long run time, right? The least all it could do is just answer certain questions, right? That's what your sequel is supposed to do. Okay,
Right.
you give me a little bit about the original it, but you really go deeper enough. I still don't know what it is, right? Still have room to speculate. Then you have this subplot involving Pennywise and a daughter. Okay, but they
Right.
don't ever follow up on that. You just have one scene
This
with
thing,
the creepy
I
old
was
woman. You saw it in the trailer,
right. Okay.
and that's
So
it. That's
again,
about the daughter.
again, the book kind of addressed some of that stuff because okay, so in it part one, you're supposed to have a scene with Pennywise having an ancient scene, some kind of scene back in the days in medieval Europe or something like that, where he's supposed to eat a baby or something like that, and they decide to cut it because it was too much, which I
He was
understand.
supposed to eat a what?
A baby,
Oh, okay.
right?
Wow.
But remember, he like to eat little children and he eat remember he eat the little girl and this thing and all of that, right?
Yeah.
Uh, So they said that all of that stuff was supposed to be it's supposed to have a narrative as well, but decided to put it in but then cut it for no good
Right.
reason.
Right. Right. Okay.
Again, the editors are weird mess.
Yeah, I'll talk about the edit in a bit. And don't worry, I'm gonna get to read it eventually, right? And touching on the kids already, right? So you have moments where like the kids, like he's targeting, this girl, he's targeting this kid, this boy all of a sudden, and it's just once again throwbacks, just like, well, we have to show him targeting the kids in the same way again, but it is about the losers going up against him. Like, so
Right.
why he had to go through doing that same thing again when the losers exist? Like, he know they're there, so like, what's the point there?
Yeah.
And it just seems less about it attacking the losers themselves, like really wiping them out once and for all.
Right.
They were the ones who actually stood up to him. So it
Right.
could have been like, all right, he could have do some kind of thing to have them really split up, like really like mash up the whole friendship, or something like that.
Okay.
Really
Yeah.
manipulate
Again,
them.
okay. All
But
this
once
is
again, is that in
Matthew,
the
as I
book?
say,
Is that in the book? Okay,
yes,
I understand.
rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat.
All right, fine, fine, fine. And this to
Yeah.
me is what makes this show hard to really criticize her because, yeah, as you say, it's in the book. Or is it? You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. I
Right.
never read the book.
Right.
So, yeah. But you have 2 hours and 49 minutes, Fred. Make the most out of it. You don't have to give her a second act with a bunch of jump scares. And I
Yes.
understand it is about jump scares, okay, but there was a certain level of thought put into it, though. And there was pacing involved. You know what I mean? It wasn't just a scare every minute, which they
Yeah.
literally try to do it with the second act here. And yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. The editing is all over the place too because you just keep doing this transition from from present to past, back
Yeah.
and forth, over and over and over, and just well, the excuses. Well, you remember the kids? Remember you like them? Well, you get to see them
Yeah.
again. But like,
And they
no, we
really,
don't care.
yeah, they really should have dropped. As I say, this kind of dead a death of a thousand cuts because they could have do so many other different things with this, and they seem to take the worst possible option. It's a design by committee kind of failure now.
Yeah,
So I feel.
yeah. So at the end of the day, I mean, you can make the argument. I mean, maybe if you read the book, you probably would prefer the show more. You really would appreciate it, I guess. But and I'm not saying this because I never read the book. You know what I mean? We're talking about a movie here, talking about an adaptation, right? So even if people didn't read the book, at least they could see the movie, make sense of what's going on, and enjoy themselves. You're throwing a
Right.
bunch of jump scares, and you're thinking, oh, well, this is just to entertain the audience. But when you just give us one unscary jump scare after the next, it's like, what's the point? And then you want to tie it back to the origin of it. And, the third act, while it was, kind of visually, I want to say, while it was kind of engaging, at the time I just kind of tuned out a story and it was just characters just doing things. This really was just this kind of light show. Just images just flashing on screen, but at that point in time, unfortunately, I just didn't care about characters. I think I really wanted to care for, Chastain and McAvoy. You know what I mean? Not just because they're great
Right.
actors, but because the characters they played and because they were well developed in the last film, I wanted to care. But because they didn't
Yeah.
spend time
And then they
developing the
develop.
characters, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
the
I
other kind
just
of love.
didn't care.
You're right. The other kind of love triangle they're trying to make a thing about, and that didn't
Well,
make
yeah,
sense.
well, they set that up for the last film. That's
Right.
with Bill and
Yeah.
yeah, well, Bill and Beverly and Mike, right?
Right.
No, sorry, not Mike. Ben, right? They didn't even touch on that well enough. At least the old
Yeah.
film, as cheesy as it was, at least it stopped to talk about that. It's like no, just after the fact. Well, remember the poem that you wrote back then?
Yeah.
I forgot who wrote it. Oh, you wrote it. Okay, now we're in love,
Yeah.
and
That was
that's
one of the
really
yeah, and that was one of the tokens, however it was.
yeah. And just this whole idea of nostalgia, once again, just the problem with horror movies today. Oh, well, because it's about, going back to the past and all that kind of stuff. That's supposed to make me care? No. Like, I understand what they get at, but at the same time, it's like, no. I trust the film enough to let its adult characters lead the way and not have to rely on the kids to do it for me. Like, for you to have to go back and show versions of characters to help move the story along is, to me, just comes off as lazy, Jared. But,
Yeah.
it's probably that how it was in the book. I don't know. I don't know, right? And last things last, though, the biggest crime for me with the show, Dread, is just how unscary it was. Just how
Yeah.
generic and bland it was, Dread. And,
Yeah.
it was like one of the first, it was like one of the rare exceptions of a movie that could tell a great story and still deliver some great scares. This one is, oh, you like the jump scare here? We're going to give you like 10 of those. And it's just designed to make you scared for like what 2 hours and 50 minutes. It just really feels like okay, we just want to scare the audience for that amount of time. So here's what we're gonna do: we're just gonna drop one generic scare after the next, one generic jump scare after the next, and then just keep people jumping. And then when the movie ends, it'll be like, well, this is the scariest movie of the year. No, not really. Have a great story and tell it in such a way that people will be scratching their head and confused. Like the whole thing with the totems and the artifacts, whatever it is,
Yeah.
it never really developed that further. That just, oh well, this is just a technique we have to get rid of him. I don't know if it'll work, but hey, we had to do it because movie, right? And that's it. So sloppy writing, incoherent narrative, characters that you wanted to care about, but you just don't because the movie does not stop in its 2 hour and 50 runtime to really properly develop the characters. And just a wasted villain. Like they really didn't do anything with it that I didn't see before. He doesn't do anything that he never really did before. Well, I mean, like just the scary stuff, right? And I don't know why. It's just like his motivation was just non-existent. It's just like, oh well, you're there. Okay, I'm gonna scare you, and then I'm gonna scare you, and then I'm gonna scare you, and I'll just keep doing that until eventually all you figure out a way to stop me, and then I'll be the big bad last boss, the final boss in a video game, and then all they come together
Right.
with power of unity, all they defeat me, and that's
Yeah.
it, the end. That's what we get for such a standout villain
Well,
like Pennywise, right?
the only thing to defeat Pennywise is a good roasting, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
that's
so
pretty much it.
clearly, Pennywise, you know, explain why Pennywise can't be in the hood because he'd get roasted.
You know. So yeah, boy, this was a disappointment for me, boy. And I was looking at reviews for this. I was seeing how fair people were to it, especially with it's just how just the feeling of the end, and you know what I mean, and how you could just kind of watch it back to back, and how they connected it to the first film. But I understand that, right? I understand it, and I mean, it will please the fans, the hardcore fans, but at the same time, though, it didn't need to be long. It didn't need to be that long. The story could have been better told. I mean, given the cast and given the crew, given the talent. And I don't know why they just could have put so much effort into just finishing this off on a satisfying note, and I just left just like you, just incredibly disappointed, or just but really baffled too now as to how and why how you can just mess this thing up, though. Like how? Still,
Yeah.
I don't understand though. So in short, I was really tempted to give this thing a 2.5 out of 5, which is basically me saying go see it if you want to, boy. But nah, boy. The more I think about it, it's like this did not need to be this bad. This did not need to be
Yeah.
this,
I mean, it's not
less played out
yeah, I
properly.
don't think it's the worst thing ever. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world, right? Again, it's not
No, no,
Batman,
no, no, no. It's not.
but
It's not the
it
worst
suffers,
show ever.
it suffers for very similar reasons, in my opinion. It suffers for
Yeah.
very similar reasons. So,
And for me, just from a film perspective, it's just the whole bigger is better thing. You know what I mean?
right.
It's a sequel, so we must be bigger and louder and scarier. Even though it's longer, yeah, it's bigger, yeah, but it's far from scary, far from impactful, far from memorable. I really don't see myself watching this again, like ever actually. Like I would quicker watch the first one, the first half, and just treat it as is. But I really don't see myself watching this at all, though. I mean, I can
Right.
watch. Maybe my viewpoint of it might change over the years, just like the old miniseries it kind of based on. But nah, boy, this really was a letdown, boy. So for me, it's a strong 2 out of 5. Boy. I want my money back. Like I know I
Yeah.
spent $40 on this, but yeah, I want my money back. There was no reason why this movie played out the way it did. There was no reason. You had the talent, you had everything together and working for you, and it's just they
Yeah.
just dropped the ball. And I'm like, why, boy? And
Yeah.
you can't tell me, well, it's the book, and we try to change it up
Right.
because the book apparently didn't even know how to end the story properly. But
Exactly. So,
still, it's like, oh gosh, man, it's 2019. Y'all do better than that, man. Come on.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
last words and written on it, chapter two.
Yeah, I get this one. This is super charitable of me, but I give it a very super low movie tone.
That is
Because
very, very charitable, actually.
right, but the reason I give it that because it does it when I'm thinking about it, it does a lot of the set pieces right individually, like
Yeah, yeah, it,
individually.
it does, it does, yeah.
If you were to just drop every set piece onto me separately, I'd be like, yeah, that's not so bad. But then when it's time to stitch together, the whole thing is a mess, right? And so they get a lot right in that sense, but that's about it. And then the casting was quite good. I enjoy a lot of that. I thought everybody they did what they did well with the material. It's just the story and the editing was a mess, and that just messed up the whole thing. But it didn't kill it for me now as an experience. It was just the edit was a mess, and that was the problem. Um, and so I didn't hate this as much as I should have, but because I'm not invested in this stuff as much as I can be, I didn't care as much. So I was like, whatever. I just watched it for what it was, and I
Okay,
enjoy
okay,
some.
I understand.
Right. So that's why I'm not really dumping on this as much as I can. I suppose if I was a horror fan or was this big it fan, I might have hate this more. But yeah, whatever. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
just me. Super
well,
movie
I,
talk.
I think I think that's inclusion. I think that's the reason why I give it that low rating though, because
Right.
I won't call myself a horror fan per se, but I
Right.
do appreciate horror films. I do like the great ones and even the decent ones, right? So for
Yeah.
something like this, with especially with the first movie doing so much, especially in terms of just spinning the jump scare that just become part of generic filmmaking,
Right.
and then return to this now. So it's like they just kind of dumb itself down for no apparent reason than it's a sequel, so you have to give them more of what the people want. It's like there's
Yeah.
no excuse for it, man. Like I say, I really wish that there was some thought that was put into it, and it
Right.
didn't really feel like that. It just felt like just a lazy, effort to make money and give you a sequel bigger and better. And yeah, you know what I mean. And for we know it, we will make a lot of money in the box office, right? But and maybe some people might be like real brave enough to put it as best of, but personally I don't see that happening at all though. It mightn't show up
Right.
on people's worst of lists, but it will show up on mine, unfortunately, because yeah, this was a
Yeah.
disappointment, true and true.
Yeah.
I
It's kind of
can't
like
deny that.
I can yeah. We're reminiscent earlier this year, and I think you told me this yesterday. There's Glass, right? It was like
Yeah,
that.
it feels just like Glass, where you have people
Right.
that will defend it because of the director and because of the story and the
Right.
characters, but it's like no, you take
Right.
something great and you just dilute it for no reason. You know what I mean? No
Right.
purpose. And yeah,
Yeah.
this is just like Glass, just a movie that just really disappointed me true and true, man. So I mean, if you really, really, really genuinely care to see it, go at your own risk. Like go at a matinee or something like that. Don't spend $40 or more on this show. But even if you like the jump scare aspect of the first movie, yeah, you'll just get burned out with this one here, and yeah, you will be disappointed with this. But I would just say in general, yeah, just skip it. You will win, and if you don't see it, just skip the show.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.